Hello everyone and welcome to Farm Bureau's Voices of Agriculture. This week coming to you from the state of Mississippi. On the show this time, we take a look back at the 2011 Mississippi legislative session. We follow about 100 Farm Bureau members to Washington, D.C. for the annual lobbying trip. We have a report on the second annual Ag Day at the Capitol, and the National Food Checkout Week celebration was held right here in Mississippi. Plus, on our Mississippi on the Menu segment, we'll be preparing a wonderful chicken stir-fry dish. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
I'll never forget the pride that my dad took in the crops that he grew on our farm. He always said the work we do is important, that we feed Mississippi and the country. We can help people put healthy, safe, and affordable food on their table, and that's a reason to be proud. Americans spend only about 10% of their disposable income on food. In some countries, it's 50%. Mississippi farmers are proud to do our part to help families enjoy safe, healthy food at affordable prices.
The Farm Families of Mississippi.
Farm Bureau has many duties in its role as the voice of Mississippi agriculture, but none are more important than the job of representing agriculture in the halls of the state capitol in Jackson. One of the reasons Farm Bureau was organized back in 1922 was to help farmers do as a group what they couldn't do as individuals. That includes representing their interests in the legislature, where bills affecting farmers and ranchers are debated each session. This year, as always, there were several issues that Farm Bureau targeted as priority issues and worked diligently to find a solution favorable to agriculture. The first was a bill that dealt with the Emerging Crops Fund. This fund allows farmers to apply for up to $200,000 to help with the startup of certain agricultural operations. This bill amended the law on the books to allow farmers to apply for an additional $200,000 in interest-free money to be used for retrofitting agribusiness operations.
What this bill did, it actually increased the agribusiness loans that are handled through the Mississippi Development Authority. We were under a $200,000 limit, and this takes it to $400,000. A lot of the poultry farmers use this, and they needed it for retrofitting of their houses. And so the houses have gotten older, and they may have used it at one point, but they couldn't come back to the well, so to speak.
The next issue is one dealing with the Rice Promotion Board. The legislation authorizing this board had a repealer attached to it to force it to be reviewed each year during the legislative session. This new bill removed that repealer.
We researched the promotion board, the Rice Promotion Board. We looked at their past history, and we saw that they was carrying things on that was good. We didn't see any problems come in the future, and so we decided to take this repealer off where they would not have to be coming back here every other year trying to get this bill passed. And it puts the Rice Promotion Board in line with the other promotion boards like soybeans and peanuts and so forth.
But a lot of times we do put repealers in bills when the legislators want to take another look at it and see how it's worked from 12 months from now when we go into session again. But that really has not been needed because the board does such a good job. As I said, it's 3 cents a bushel on every bushel of rice that's in Mississippi that comes through the first point of entry, which is the grain elevators. We have 12 of those in the state. But it's farmer funded, but most of all, it's farmer approved. They want to pay this because they use it for education, they use it for research and promotion of their own industry.
The Rice Promotion Board was the last promotion board to have its repealer removed. The next bill Farm Bureau helped pass was the Poultry Burial Bill. This came from a request by the Board of Supervisors, who were having a problem in certain areas when natural disasters like a tornado or a hurricane or equipment failure caused the death of large numbers of chickens. Current law does not allow the supervisors to help farmers with the disposal of large numbers of dead animals.
So this bill goes in and allows the Board of Supervisors, after a resolution is passed, they can put it on their minutes when a producer comes in and says, I lost 10,000 birds this morning because electricity went off or the equipment failed and the ventilation failed and the birds smothered. I need help disposing of these birds before we have a health problem in the county. And you can imagine a farmer probably doesn't have the equipment and the means to dispose of 10,000 4-pound birds.
So if you have a poultry house with 10,000 birds in it and some emergency, and now we're not talking about an epidemic, we're talking about some natural disaster, or some emergency that causes the death of these birds. Now the board, at its discretion, can enter a policy on their minutes that they will bury these birds, and it has to be with the permission of the property owner. Matter of fact, the property owner has to sign a waiver that it'll hold the county harmless for doing this, and the property owner also has to provide the place to bury them, and it should be on site.
Also, it has to be approved by the Board of Health, Department of Environmental Quality. They have to be buried on the producer's place, or it has to be an approved site for these birds to be buried.
Easily the most controversial bill of interest to Farm Bureau this session was the animal cruelty bill. For many years, animal rights groups have tried to get animal cruelty laws strengthened in the state, but were unable to do so because the bills were poorly written or weren't defined enough to give livestock farmers protection from undue prosecution using laws that were intended for domesticated animals.
The legislature's finally passed a piece of legislation we could all agree on and have sent it to the governor. And I'm glad that we were able to put together a piece of legislation that generally almost all of the legislature agreed to. And essentially it provides something new that we have not had in the law, provides for a felony for certain acts of animal cruelty against just dogs and cats. This is very limited to that. And if you have 2 acts of aggravated cruelty within a 5-year period, then that person would be convicted of a felony, or sentenced to a felony.
After much wrangling and negotiation, the Humane Society of the United States and the Mississippi Farm Bureau came to an agreement on a bill that both groups and their members could live with.
We had to compromise with farm groups, the animal rights groups, or whatever you want to call them, different groups of those. Then you see you got the House. You had to have a version that the Ag Committee worked hard on coming up with language that would pretty much be pleasing to all parties concerned. Then you had the Senate. You had to deal with the Senate.
The Senate had passed legislation to make it a felony on a first offense, and we were unable to get the House to agree to anything. They never brought a bill up in those 7 years. And finally, this year, we actually passed 2 bills, one with a felony and the other, I think it was a third offense felony. So we gave them some options, and fortunately they took one of the bills up for the first time in the 7 years we've been working on it. And as I said, we went to conference, worked out some disagreements we had, and were able to come up with a final piece of legislation everybody agree about. But there are a lot of different groups. You know, we're obviously concerned with you know, folks in the farming industry, but there are a lot of folks that are in the organizations that care for animals and you know, specifically more dogs, domesticated dogs and cats.
Law enforcement should have all the tools they need to be able to handle any situation that comes up. And then also working animals, where it's hunting dogs, working dogs for livestock, or any other species of livestock has been exempt. So it allows rural Mississippi agriculture to go on with its life without worrying with some special interest coming in and being able to shut them down, causing them some problems.
We'll be back with more right after these messages.
When was the last time you were responsible for feeding 155 people? If you're a Mississippi farmer, the answer is easy. It was yesterday. That's right. The technology used in farming today maximizes crop yields and protects the land for generations of farmers to come. There are lots of ways and lots of jobs that keep Americans safe, and I'm proud of the role that Farm Families of Mississippi has in providing a safe, affordable source of food and fiber for your family.
The Farm Families of Mississippi.
One big part of Farm Bureau's legislative effort is the annual trip to Washington, D.C. to establish and maintain relationships with senators and congressmen about what's important on the farm here in Mississippi. More than 60 Mississippians braved the cold and snow in our nation's capital to have the opportunity to have their voices heard by their representatives in Congress. Being able to sit down in a small meeting with your representative and let him know how you feel about agricultural issues is a worthwhile effort.
When you start talking about what they can do to us on clean air, clean water, any other deal.
These farmers had specific things that they wanted to talk about.
The main thing is the poultry side, the EPA, the regulation, the spreading of the litter on the land, energy. The butane takes a lot of butane. A lot of chicken house farms around where I live are losing their farms because they can't pay the butane. So it's a big issue around the house.
The main thing is trying to find out about this new farm bill that they're getting ready to write, and where the South is going to be standing on it compared to the North.
This kind of personal contact with members of Congress helps lawmakers see the personal side of the laws they pass.
But we want to be sure it's still the government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And that's my ambition, to have a role to play in that and to reflect in a thoughtful way the concerns and the interests of the people of my state of Mississippi.
Y'all are here as experts in the area of agriculture, and we value your role. We value your contribution to the information that we get every year when we make decisions. But we also know that you're small business people. We also know that you're people with sound, traditional American values on a variety of areas.
It's vital that we have an open line of communication, and I've always had a great relationship with the men and women that make up Farm Bureau throughout my 16-year career in the state Senate. Farm Bureau is an organization that communicates its interests and desires, and I welcome that, because that makes me a much more effective legislator if I have the opportunity to listen. And so I appreciate it when people take time to come up to D.C. and meet with me and tell me what's on their mind.
This trip is part of Farm Bureau's year-round effort to have influence on legislation that affects the well-being of agriculture and rural Mississippi. The second annual Ag Day at the Capitol was held recently to promote agriculture and build relationships with legislators. Close to 200 farmers and ranchers from all parts of the state, representing all forms of agriculture, came to the state capitol to let people know how important agriculture is to the state of Mississippi.
Encouraged our members to come and tell our senators and representatives how important agriculture is to us and our economy. Basically just came down to tell them thank you for looking out for us and the things they do for looking out for us in agriculture.
Patrick Swindle is a row crop farmer from DeSoto County. He says that this event is a chance to teach the non-farm public about agriculture.
I think it's a great opportunity, not only for our organization, and for us as well, because it puts a face on agriculture for our representatives here. They see the people that are working out there in the ag community, but it's also an opportunity for us to thank them for maybe their work on certain issues that have come through.
Farm Bureau is the voice of agriculture. When 34% of the economy of Mississippi is based on agricultural production, then it's very important that our voice be heard in the legislature. Farm Bureau is a mixture of cotton farmers, soybean farmers, forestry producers, cow-calf operators, all aspects of agriculture represented by Farm Bureau. And our lobbyists here in Jackson are only instructed to pass on to the legislators what the resolution committee and the membership have voted on. So it makes it a very effective organization.
Being able to voice your concerns about the issues in your industry is vitally important. These farmers are in agreement about what's affecting farmers the most right now.
Definitely input costs. Fuel, fertilizer, it's all very high. And commodity prices are good, but the costs are running up there with it too. So that's a definitely big issue.
Cattle prices are super right now. I hope the price will still be great when my calves are ready for sale in August. But right now, the input cost, fuel, fertilizer, is just skyrocketing. A new hay baler now is about $30,000. 90 horsepower tractor, $50,000. Those input costs, fuel is going through the roof. So even though we have high cattle prices, the input costs are really hurting us.
Legislators and the public need to be aware that farmers are not the reason that food costs are on the rise.
People just don't realize what it takes to farm, what the costs are and what it takes to make that corn or that soybean or that rice or cattle. There's always something there that's going to cost to produce, and the cost of production is high right now. And people just need to understand that.
Educating the public about the issues in agriculture is one area where farmers have failed themselves.
I tell people all the time, I know the importance of agriculture. I'm a farmer. And, and to me, when you tell somebody, I'm speaking from the heart. And to me, I tell everybody, anytime they get an opportunity to tell what they're doing on their farm, you know, we're taking care of our animals, we're producing a safe and abundant food supply. Nobody can tell that story better than the person that's doing it.
The American farmer has done a great job of keeping up with technology and doing more with less. Continuing to meet this challenge is one of the things that allows the 2% of Americans that are involved in production agriculture to feed the rest of us and much of the world. We'll be back with more after this time out. Stay with us.
Hey everybody, the chicks are here. Baby chicks are 1 day old when they come to the farm. The houses are clean, stocked with plenty of fresh food and water, and just the right temperature. Our birds are kept inside to protect them and prevent diseases. We work hard to make sure that these chicks grow up healthy. Healthy animals ensure a healthy food source for your family. We're proud to be Mississippi farmers feeding Mississippi and the world.
The Farm Families of Mississippi.
Food Checkout Week is a celebration of the healthy, nutritious, and affordable food that we as Americans have available to us. This event is spearheaded each year by the American Farm Bureau Women's Committee and is hosted each year by a different state farm bureau. This year, Mississippi is the host. Farmers across the nation provide abundant, safe food to the public at affordable prices. Food Checkout Week is a way to let the public know what farmers do for them on a daily basis.
We try to show the public about how to buy nutritional, low-cost foods for their families. As you well know, that food prices are going up, and we feel like that we can help the families by showing them ways that they can stay within the food pyramid of knowing what to eat and have good nutrition in their households.
Terry Gilbert is a Kentucky farmer and chair of the American Farm Bureau Women's Committee. She says that dining out less often and preparing more meals at home can definitely stretch a family's food budget.
So we've set up stations in the grocery store to talk about the 5 major food groups. We're giving them information on how to look up the nutritious foods, resources that they can go to find out about those foods, their serving sizes, and then we're giving them recipes of the different foods so that they can go home and fix meals for their family. And we're trying to help them. This time, you know, we're in tough economic times. Everybody knows that. And this is just a way that we can help people who've decided to cut back on their eating out budget. They can find nutritious and economical ways to fix meals for their families at home.
One of the key messages of Food Checkout Week is the fact that America needs to be able to feed itself and not depend on other countries for our food supply.
I think it's vital that we as Americans and farmers and ranchers continue to provide the safe, abundant food that we have here in this country, that we don't have to depend on anybody else for what we need to feed not only our families but our communities and our states. With everything the way it is in the world today, it's something that we definitely need to depend on ourselves and not have to depend on anybody else.
Farm Bureau also partners with the Ronald McDonald House. This 12-year partnership is very beneficial during Food Checkout Week.
It takes a lot of game to keep this house clean. Keep it clean, keep it clean, keep it clean.
Today we did bring in lots of foods and supplies to stock the house, because it's a lot of families that go there that are not able to feed their families when they bring their children in to have their treatments. And so this is very valuable. It's very heartwarming to us to be able to do this, because we're helping lots of families to be able to continue to feed their family while they're here in Jackson getting their treatments.
But that's not all the ladies brought.
We gave them $5,200 from Mississippi Farm Bureau, and then the American Farm Bureau gave $2,500. So that was a nice cash for them to buy other supplies with and to help these families, and to be able to provide them with a shelter, a room, I guess I should say, while they're in Jackson.
Food Checkout Week is an opportunity for shoppers to put a face on the farmers and ranchers from their local communities and explain agricultural issues.
And a lot of people have thanked us for being here, and they are telling us that they are aware of high prices coming. They're also aware of where their foods are coming from. And we are assuring them that we still in America do have the safest, most abundant food that it is. And so I know that we have made an awareness here today.
In our Mississippi on the Menu segment this time, we introduce you to our new chef, Louis Bruno. He's the executive chef at the Mississippi Museum of Art in downtown Jackson. This time, he will be preparing a wonderful chicken stir-fry dish.
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Chef Louis Bruno and I'm here with Farm Families of Mississippi. Guess what? We're gonna cook you a little bit of chicken. We're gonna do a great chicken and basil entree. I got a little brown rice here already done, but we're gonna hop over to a nice hot wok and we're gonna stir up some chicken stir fry sort of. We got here a little soy sauce, hot crushed pepper, garlic, a little bit of onions, a little bit of sugar. I'm gonna use Splenda to cut down a little bit on that badness. We gotta put a little bit of healthiness and use a little Splenda. A little fish sauce, which is an anchovy base. And of course, chicken. I'm gonna just throw that in there. And we're gonna stir it up. We're gonna let this cook probably, until your chicken's fully done. You don't wanna have raw chicken. This is great about Farm Family. We're trying to educate everybody with what's going on in Mississippi, what we produce, what we're doing here, what we have in Mississippi. This is a great state. We have so many things going on. And you're gonna let this cook. Of course, on the wok, you gotta have it high. If you don't have a wok, you can use a little saute pan. There we go. There we go. How's that? Isn't that good? Take a look at that. That is beautiful. There were 817 million broilers producer on 1,400 farms in 2010. Amazing stuff, guys. Right now we got 2 of them going. This is the one I just put in. I already have one already made. We're gonna go off and finish it off. We're going off with the best part of them all, and that's putting in the basil. You got your onions. You have your hot crushed pepper, your soy, a little bit of fish sauce, a little bit of sugar. You're balancing out that saltiness as well. A little bit of basil. You want to tear it up just in half because these are huge leaves. And you don't want to put this in the beginning of the cooking process, or else they're going to turn brown and black and ugly looking. And just stir it up. Just like that. It's going to cook. And you're going to take this and just pour it on top of your rice. You're going to take a little bit of that sauce. Pour it over there. Bring it down. Look at that. That is beautiful right there. Make sure you wipe the plate. This is great for the family. You got to do this family style. There's a little brown rice, little chicken, delicious. Poultry is Mississippi's #1 commodity with a production value of over $2 billion. Well, here you go, guys. Thank you for me, Chef Louis Bruno, and thank you for Farm Families of Mississippi. We'll see you next time.
The recipe for this dish is available on the Farm Families of Mississippi website at www.growingmississippi.org. And that's all the time we have for this edition of Voices of Agriculture. We hope you've enjoyed the show and will be with us again next time. From all of us here at the Mississippi Farm Bureau, thanks for watching.